Hey guys, welcome back to another video from the channel Learn from Basics. This is Joe here, and in today's video we are going to talk about the overview of all of the files and folders in our Flutter application main folder, because there are many files when you create a Flutter project, as you will see, and each and every one of those files has a unique purpose. And you, as a programmer, should be able to know to interact with which file and how you're going to do it. Because I'll tell you that in Flutter, you'll have to interact with some of the files while you'll have to stay away from the other files in order to be a successful Flutter developer. So without any further ado, let's just get an overview of the file and folder structure of our Flutter application. So let's open Visual Studio Code. In our last video, we learned how to set up the Flutter SDK with Visual Studio Code and Android Studio. So make sure that you go ahead and check those videos out in order to set up the Flutter SDK. But let's open recent, or let's just open it. So we go to File, Open Folder. And now, as you can see, our app, I believe, was my first app. So let's select that folder, and now you'll see that there are many folders that pop up over here as soon as Visual Studio Code loads my first app, which it is doing. So as you can see, it does take some time, but I just think that's for my laptop, as it is a bit slow. But as you can see, there are a lot of files that pop up whenever you first create your Flutter folder or your Flutter project. So now let's discuss all of those files, shall we? So as you guys can see, there are many files and folders in our Flutter project. And that makes sense, because what Flutter basically does is it creates native code for multiple platforms. And that means there should be a lot of files and folders helping it convert one code database or base code, which we write in Dart, into native code for Android, Apple, and the web, which is a pretty big task. Now, as you can see over here, we have an Android folder, an iOS folder, and the web folder. Now, the web folder is just for the web to process everything that you created in your Flutter app. This is where the web stores all of the data and all of the conversions it needs in order to process the Flutter app. As you can see over here, it has a base index.html folder and a manifest.json folder. So in this folder, basically, Flutter converts the code into web code and then basically paste that code into the web folder. So now if we double click on index.html, you can see we have some basic HTML code, right? Now, that's the web folder. And in the test folder, you have a file that basically is used by Flutter to test all of your widgets, or basically test the main app or the main page. And then you have the lib. Now, the lib, or the library folder, is the most important folder of all, as this is where you'll be storing all of your files and all of your screens and all of your pieces of code and all of your custom widgets. So as you can see, we have one file right now, and that's the main.dart file. And as we run in our last episode, the base app is basically a counting app. It's not too complex. There's just one screen and not any widgets. So that's why there's only one file. But if you were to have more widgets, a more complex app, and more screens, you'd have multiple files and folders inside the lib folder. But this is basically your workspace. Then we have the iOS folder. Again, sometimes maybe you're using a custom iOS feature, and maybe you're going to bring that feature's folder or file in from GitHub. You're going to have to paste that in this area, and then you can access it via the process. And then this is basically where all the iOS dependencies are. And then this is the second most important folder from the lib, and it's the Android folder. Now, yes, iOS and Android Flutter does great at them, but Android has a bit more capabilities in Flutter than iOS. That's just because Android is freer than iOS. iOS is very strict, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. But as you can see, if you were to make a machine learning app and have a TensorFlow Lite model, you'd paste that TensorFlow Lite model inside the app folder. So this is where all the Android dependencies stay. And yeah, these are all the dependencies used to convert the Dart code into Android code. Pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Now the .idea, .dart tool, and the .build are all tools that the Flutter uses to convert the code and just basically process the code. So you'll not need to go near them. And then over here we have the .getNor folder. Now the .getNor folder is basically a folder that basically helps you when you're using Git. So to make sure that so the .getNor folder goes through all of the changes you made and basically removes the unnecessary ones so you can push it to GitHub. So over here, as you can see, source control. If I didn't have it, I'd have a lot of changes because my Flutter makes changes in the background, and the Git processor thing would still count those as changes I've made, but the getNor filters those out, which is why it's good to have. The .metadata, it's again something that you shouldn't touch. It's just for Flutter to be there, and it's basically some simple stuff. .packages, again, this is in Flutter's words, and these are basically the packages that you have by default. Of course, you can add new packages, but this is not where you're going to do this. This is basically the core Flutter packages that Flutter needs to run. myfirstapp.iml, again, you don't have to look into this. This is for Flutter completely. Same for this. This is basically somewhere that Flutter manages all of its dependencies, and you don't have to touch this. But pubspec.yaml on the other side is one of the most important files in the Flutter project. As you can see, the pubspec.yaml file is where you control your version, your environment, and your dependencies. So if you wanted to add a dependency over here, you'd say dependency, or basically the name of the dependency, like weather, and then you type in the weather dependency code. So as you can see over here, they added a dependency called Cupertino icon, and then they added the version. So this is where you add all of your dependencies, and then you have dev dependencies, and then over here you can also add images under assets. You can add fonts. And yeah, this is basically where you control all of your dependencies. And if you want to import something like a library, a font, an image, an external thing to Flutter, this is where you're going to do this. So the two most important things in a Flutter project is the lib folder and the pubspec.yaml file. You'll be switching through both of these a lot when you're coding a Flutter app. But needless to say, it's just good to know what all the folders are used for. It's just general knowledge. And if your friend asks you why there are so many folders in your project, then you can tell them. But that's all for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. In our next video, we'll talk or look into the main.dart file, and basically let's just skim through it and take out what we understand and compare the code to the app. But that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We're almost at 100 subscribers, so don't forget to subscribe if you aren't. Again, thank you for watching, guys. If you have any questions or comments to make the series better, don't forget to put them down in the description. If you have any new ideas for a new series, also please put them down in the description. All useful links and tips will be down in the description. And yeah, that's all. Don't forget to share, subscribe, turn on notifications. Other than that, have a great day. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.